Hmm.
All right.
Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of the Smart Flip with me and Matt. Today we have Aaron Simon Welch on with us. But before we get started, make sure that you guys like and subscribe and stuff like that. If you're on another platform, do whatever needs to be done on that platform. By the way, we have launched our 2025 guide to flipping phones and electronics. It is free. Get it on our Facebook group.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and if you want to listen to the ebook, you can do that on episode 11 of the podcast, or you can buy the book for $4.95. It's 112 pages now. It's great. Um, but like I said, you can also listen to it for free. Episode 11 of the Smart Flip.
Hmm.
With that being said, guys, we're going to just get straight to this thing today. We have Aaron Simon Welch today with us from Modesto, California. He's been flipping phones and stuff for like 14 years. Hired a bunch of employees and things like that. And
Yep.
we're going to talk about his business. Uh, what's up, Aaron? How you doing, dude?
Great. It's a beautiful day. I'm clean. I'm ready to go.
That's a good way to start the day.
Dude, how did
Yeah.
you how did you come across the phone flipping business? Like, how did you get into this thing? Start from the beginning.
Well, well, I used to sell alarms door to door, and I did that
Hmm.
for several years, just door to door cold calls. I mean, you'd go up and knock on the door, and sometimes they'd be friendly, sometimes they'd be like, F off, I'm watching baseball. So, mixed bag. And I did car sales too. But
Incredible.
my previous manager at ABC Alarm, he left the business and he started working for Verizon. And
Hmm.
he asked me to work for him at Verizon. And I was like, yeah, I agreed. And I was like top sales guy. It was great. But the commute sucked. It just sucked. The commute was like 45 minutes plus some change every day. And going from a place that was like 5 minutes down the road to that, it was lame. So I ended up moving to Cricket. So I'm, gathering some cell phone knowledge, right? I ended up moving to Cricket, but just before I moved to Cricket, I'm sorry, I have terrible ADHD. I get off track all the time. Just before I moved to Cricket, Verizon was doing this thing. They said they had a trade-in program, but it wasn't developed at all. This is back in 2008,
Okay.
2009.
Okay.
And so you could take in their phones as trade, but they didn't do anything with them. It was just like a sign. So we just took them in, and whoever took them in, we could sell them. We were just totally allowed to sell them. And so we found stuff that was good, and we were selling it on the side back
Hmm.
in Verizon, like 10 years ago, before they developed the trade-in program. So then when I moved to Cricket, I got a job at Cricket, and I started selling phones on the side still, and I would be selling anything like I would buy a flip phone for $10 and sell it for $25, like, or an iPhone 3GS for $40 and sell it for $75 or whatever. I don't know. Actually, the 3GS was hundreds of dollars. What am I talking about? It was very expensive back then. But but basically, at one point, I was working at Cricket, and I found myself in conflict with my manager all the time. I felt like I was
Hmm.
doing things well, and it was just having a boss sucked. It just sucked. And I was making almost as much money selling phones on the side
Hmm.
as I was working part-time, full-time mix for Cricket. So I just quit, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna make this my full-time thing.
Hmm.
I'm done with working for other people, and I haven't worked for anyone ever since then. Like never. I
Wow.
just made that decision, and I was like, fuck a job. I'm sorry. We can censor that, but like no thanks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, back in 2010 is when I really started Cell Cycle, officially. And I was selling phones out of the trunk of my car. I was sourcing them on Craigslist, and then I would sell them out of the trunk of my car. And my dog's gonna die. My dog like broke out of the house and decided to join me on the walk.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, not great. He's huge. He's freaking huge.
Literally.
Anyway, so yeah, man, I've been doing phones since 2010, and I've just been sourcing it and evolving with the times as new
Mhm.
information comes out.
Yeah.
At the time, I felt like I invented phone flipping. I didn't watch anybody doing it. No one was doing it. And as I started doing it, all these stores started popping up, and I became their competition because I was buying so much stuff. I even got into like a Craigslist flag war with some guy. Like I would try to put up stuff, all these posts on Craigslist, because that was the thing back then. Just put up all the posts, put up 10 posts a day, put up 20 posts a day. And there was a guy who was like, F you, man. This guy's buying all the phones of Modesto. And he would personally flag everything.
Wow.
Just remove all my posts.
I
What a
don't
great- what a
miss
great human.
Craigslist wars at all. Like, I hated that. That was one part of the
What?
Craigslist piece that I didn't enjoy. It's like
Yeah.
they would just flag your listing and then it was gone. Like, it was-
Yeah. Yeah, Craigslist, it would be like if they got a couple, like too many flags, I think it only had to get flagged like 5 times. Hold on.
Yeah.
Dandelion, come here. Come here, Dandelion. Yeah, if they got flagged like 3 to 5 times, they just drop it. It's annoying. So your competition could effectively hurt you back then. So the solution was, and still is, if you do post on Craigslist, make sure you do paid by dealer, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, of course. Well, they barely even allow the phone flipping stuff now. Got to do all sorts of workarounds and everything to make that work, and it's a whole thing now. But so,
to do cell phone sales on Craigslist?
oh yeah, like last time I did it, they just got removed. Yeah. Now if you do
I
like cash for game consoles or cash for cameras or anything like that, like it's fine.
Okay. Well, you know how you say to do things that other people aren't doing, right? Well, right now in my area at least, there's nobody advertising cell phones. I am the person advertising cell phones. That's it.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, there's one other person who's advertising repairs, and they happen to be my friend. So I'm like, cool.
Well, so
So that's
in the
actually
past-
doing well.
nice. In the past 14 years, dude, I want to talk about some of the like ups and downs of the industry that you've seen. You've obviously been in this about twice as long as me. So like what have been the like all the way from the iPhone 3GS, right? Like what are some of the things you've seen when it comes to being like up and down in the industry, some major changes? Like what are some of those things that you've seen?
You know, one of the funniest things that I always talk about with phone flippers, especially if they've been doing it more than 5 years, is the change of screen sizes over the years. And it was really funny to me because when we had flip phones were like 2-inch screens, right? Like 2.1-inch screens.
Yeah.
And they came out with the iPhone 3GS. Man, that screen was huge. 3.5 inches. And they've been edging it up every year since then. And
Yeah.
now, like a small phone is a 6.2-inch phone,
Yeah.
you know? Like, and you look at like the 12 mini and the 13 mini, that's a 5.4.
Yeah.
And those things look small, but if you put that phone back in 2010, everyone would be like, that's the biggest phone I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Everyone.
It's true. Yeah. And
So,
I think it's interesting too to note that the technology probably existed to create a screen of that size then. But there's this game of ever increasing margins to make it look like something new has happened that isn't really that new because what phone has really been that advanced since the iPhone 12 or 13 anyway? Sans that now essentially all you're getting is like a better camera, but a roughly similar device, and it's been that way for what, close to a decade now?
yeah. iPhone 12, I mean, they got Face ID, and that was about the next cutting edge innovation. That was it. And they had that at the
X.
11, right?
Yeah.
Or the X.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Whenever,
they had the little touch bar thing. That thing's kind of cool, but is it
right.
so cutting edge? Like, oh wow, it's got a screen inside the screen. Ooh.
Yeah, it's nothing life-changing. It's just phones.
No, no. And so they just keep coming out with these incremental changes, and everybody flocks towards the new, new, new. And they're like, oh my God. And that's what
Yeah,
everybody said about the Galaxy S7. Oh
yeah,
my gosh. And then the S8. Oh, and the 9. And it keeps going.
yeah. It's fair.
We're at the we're at the 25 now. So I don't like
yeah, it's
I,
like
I
11.
don't buy it. Yeah, they just keep putting up numbers, and then they skipped some numbers because they wanted it to sound better than the iPhones.
Yeah. So I have a question. What are some habits you've developed in your business over the past, decade, that you believe have helped you build your business?
If I do anything, if I do anything, I'm gonna put my all into it. I don't believe in half-assing anything. If I'm gonna do something, I'm either gonna absolutely not do it at all, not even a little, or I'll absolutely do it. So all it takes for me is a decision. Once I make a decision and I plan it, then I just have to step into it. And I've
Yeah.
had that attitude forever, you know. For me, like, so people were asking about pawn shops recently, and I was like, I just visited 5 pawn shops. And to
Mhm.
me, that's no big deal. And everyone, and the response was more like, it kind of is.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's not. Like the only thing stopping you is your fear, and fear is useless. It's like unless there's, a raging bull attacking you, what are you afraid of? You're not gonna die. You don't go into a pawn shop and the owner's gonna go in there and point a shotgun at your face and say, if you don't leave in 5 seconds, I'm blowing off your head.
Right. Yeah.
It's true. What's funny is
It,
like I've been talking about
yeah.
pawn shops for how long now, Matt? Like,
Over a year and a half.
Yeah.
but it's funny because it always takes somebody else to go do it and then share their experience. Very interesting.
Right.
Funny. As I resent that a little bit. I wish they did it when I told them to do it.
I mean, I always talk about it, and like I
Yeah.
always like show people like what I get from pawn shops. There's a lot of like passcode locked iPads for me. I don't know
Yeah.
why. That
Mhm.
seems to be a common theme in my area.
Yeah.
But I always make massive profits on them because of that. But
That's awesome.
yeah, I don't know
I
why.
think I think everyone sees you as the authority on so many things that there's only so much they can absorb from you. And people are trying to get the phone flipping down from you, you know? Maybe they're not looking to you for that. And so they're not absorbing it the same way.
Could be. I don't know. Pawn
Yeah.
You
shop
know, like
profits
when
is in the curriculum. So
it's like when you tell your kid to do something and then, your friend tells your kid to do it and they do it for your friend and you're like, "What the I'm
Yeah.
your dad."
yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. Very interesting. When it's an outside force, sometimes it moves us along. I mean, I've seen that. My wife has told me things, and then a guy friend of mine tells me the same thing, and then I do it. Like
Right?
I've done that
You
before.
know what? We can use that to our advantage in sales. They call it third party stories, and it's one of my favorite closing techniques.
Yeah.
Um, you basically take it away from them to make it impersonal, and you say something like, I can understand how you. It's called the feel, felt, found. You guys heard the feel, felt, found before?
I think so.
Hmm. No,
Okay.
but
Yeah, explain it.
Uh, I completely understand how you feel. I had another customer who originally felt the same way, but what they found is, and you give
Like
them the
that.
change their mind kind of thing.
yeah,
So
I
you
like
can
it.
do you can do that with negotiation. You know, oh, I really wanted, $500 for this 13 Pro Max. Okay, I can completely understand how you feel. I recently had another customer I bought a 13 Pro Max from the other day. He felt the same way. But what we found is that it's really not realistic to get 500 for it. And if you expect that, it's just going to sit there and depreciate. So it was a lot easier for him to just sell it on the spot and get cash today. Does that make sense?
I like that. That's actually
That's
really
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I feel like Aaron Goldstein does like the first part really well.
Uh-huh.
But like I feel like that works really well in person, which I'm
Yeah.
sure like you do that probably every day in person.
Yeah, it's a phone call or in person. It's not as good on text because
Yeah.
you can't like get tonality with them and stuff.
That's
Yeah,
true.
like the way that we do it is like I totally understand. Like that's the first part. And then I like to do like we've been buying it for this amount recently.
Yeah.
And
The
like
social affirmation.
yeah, it's a social affirmation. But that works better than
Yeah, it's
text, I
proof.
think.
Yeah.
I and one thing I'll do is I call the I call it blaming a third party. Like
Yeah.
I blame my buyers all the time. Like I'm be like, look, man, my buyers lately they've been giving me garbage prices on these phones. Like, and I just I'll blame them all the time, and it works really well. Because let's be real, these people know that I'm flipping stuff. They know that I'm reselling stuff. Like that's
Yeah.
one. I mean, I'm very honest with my customers on that. Like
Yeah.
I don't know why a lot of phone flippers actually try to hide the fact that they're reselling a phone or an electronic. It's very interesting. I mean, how do you
It's
approach
like
that?
that's a good. I love that question. It's like I've seen that too, and I wanted to comment on that phenomenon. It's like they feel like they're afraid of being honest. Some people are afraid of being honest. Like they think they can't handle the truth. What that person needs to do is they need to ask themselves, what would happen if I was totally honest?
Mhm.
What would actually happen? Because, and then ask yourself if all the worst things that you're really afraid of would happen. Are they going to kick me out right away? Are they going to yell at me? Are they going to blackball me from coming back because you said I resell this stuff?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. Like
Man,
what's the worst thing that could happen, right?
right. They
You better
must
get
hate
honest.
themselves if they hate you because they're reselling it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, I hate resellers and myself. Like people just get in their heads too much.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I just try not to think about it too much. And if you think about what won't work, you're just going to get stuck in your head and not do anything. You have to think of what might work.
That's
I
yeah.
like that. Do you have something on that, Matt?
Um, I mean, hypothetical headspace is like literally entertaining things like the brain is designed to help us forecast what might be ideal to do in certain situations. That's why the brain, is it's a never-ending like computer and calculator of like human intent or possibility. And so,
Hmm.
but I think when we live, in hypothetical states rather than reality, like lots of times I think the best thing about healthy self-talk is just reminding yourself of like, okay, this is what I need to do. Like that's why output input is a very reassuring philosophy within sales and reselling because it's like if I do this, it should produce this. And you can kind of call that the brain's enthusiasm of like running off into like terrified states, like flight or fight or flight is a reaction that is reduced to the margin of life. Generally speaking, that's not what's going to happen as a consequence of walking into a pawn shop. Going back to Aaron's idea or thought about, them picking up a shotgun. This is not some holler in East Virginia where your life is being threatened because, you've gone to, I don't know, it's not deliverance, right? It's not something ridiculous like that. It's just a job. Um, but I think a lot of us are guilty of taking scenarios that are often reduced to the margin of a circumstance or life, and then using them to broad brush a reality that is completely inconsistent with the way things actually are. And the sooner people realize that sometimes your brain is lying to you, the easier this job or any other job is going to be, which feels like a mind trip, but it's kind of true. It's like, I don't know, what would be like a common circumstance like, oh my gosh, if I start flipping phones, I'm gonna get robbed and lose all of my money. Okay,
Hmm.
well, within like a span of probably like me, Chris, and Aaron, uh, if if I were to take, like 20 years, I could say like, yeah, I know of two people that's happened to. I know of two stories that was the case. Um, the other 99.9% of the stories, that was not the case, right? So
Right.
what are we
Out
really
of out of
what are
one
we worried about
out
here?
of 1,000 customers, I've got like three who've tried to rob me out of 1,000. Okay,
Yeah.
just be on guard, right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
If people are smart, wise, and just do the work, like you're probably going to get the result. Oh, surprise. We got the result that we expected to get. Like I think that's the beauty of like proportion, right? The bell-shaped curve, probability.
The
Um,
beauty of what?
Proportion, like probability, like the nature of probability. You know what I'm talking about? The bell-shaped curve. Okay. Anybody familiar with bell-shaped curve,
Yeah.
standard deviation?
Law of averages,
Um,
all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I talk about that quite a good bit because for me, I like literally when I find myself like walking into realms of like, I don't know, this thought seems unrealistic. This thought is not vetted in reality. Okay, cool. Let's just go back to math. Good business is
Yeah.
good math. And I need data to kind of rescue myself from just, I don't know, playing out scenarios that just feel really like unvetted and stupid. So,
I mean, it's about your track record too. Like, so one of the great things that the three of us share, and one of the reasons that we have a confidence is because we had these questions before, and either we figured it out on our own, or someone else answered it, and then we learned it. So, like,
yeah,
we see these new guys in the group asking questions, and I can tell that they're new because they're new guy questions. They're just really, new guy questions
yeah,
like trying to squeeze every single deal when there's nothing there. This is,
Yeah.
you know,
true. Yeah, yeah,
like you want to be persistent and you don't want to just give up, right? But if you're, $300 off where you need to be, it's just not going to work out. It's just not going to work out.
yeah.
One thing that I
Hold on
like
one
that
second,
you,
please.
yeah, one thing I like that that Matt, pointed out there was the hypothetical headspace. Um,
He says
I
hello.
think that
Come on,
that goes back to
come on.
creating the invisible ceilings, right?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Or as I
Right.
ran across a quote a while back, uh, and it goes like this: the brain can't tell the difference between something you're imagining and something that's real. Like it can't tell the
Mm,
difference. And
I have, go ahead, go
go
ahead.
for it now. If you got something on that, go for it, man.
I absolutely do. Okay, have you guys ever been to the Exploratorium in San Francisco?
Nope.
No.
All right, there's an experiment at the Exploratorium. It's great. So there's one bar and it's filled with cold water. If you touch it, it's cold, right? There's another bar next to it. It's filled with warm water. You touch it, it's warm. Then in the center, there's a twist of both bars twisting around each other. You grab it, it feels like it's burning the crap out of your hand.
Huh.
Your brain registers white hot pain, really, really hot, as cold, then hot. And so for a brief moment, you feel like you're being burned. But when you logic it out and you remember, you just touched, this was cold, this is warm, then you can withstand it. But you have to get it around your head first.
I like that. So yeah, I mean that
Wow.
the brain can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not, right? So I think a lot of people just get in
Yeah.
their own head with a lot of it, especially with this business, and they're like, I can't do 100 reach outs today. Yeah, you can. Like, it's
But
possible.
no, no, no. Actually, no, you're right. You can't because you just said that. Why would you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't say that.
yeah,
That's the thing. It's like whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
yeah,
I like that. It's
And
true.
yeah.
so like I see these guys in the group, uh asking a bajillion questions,
Uh-huh.
and I can just tell. I'm like, "Hey bro, do something. Stop asking questions. You're
Yeah,
stuck in your head. You're
yeah,
stuck in your head. You need to just drown it in volume. Just go do some reach outs or something,
yeah.
you
That's
know?"
what I love that Chris and I obviously talk towards people a lot about a bias reaction. If someone's, 20 days into this business and they're like, Chris, what should I do? He's like, follow the script. Um, but the thing I
Right.
also love is that when people actually do that, when they take, 30, 60, 90 days and just pound the pavement. But quite honestly, we don't really have a lot of questions anymore after that.
True.
And
Yeah.
most people don't really need our help because what's the goal of a coach in the first place? The goal of a coach is to work ourselves out of a job. Um, if you're 8 months down the road and I'm still spoon feeding you the same material that Chris or I introduced to you at the beginning of this um, mentorship, you're probably sucking at this pretty bad. Like I don't know, maybe
Right.
consider something else. But for most people, like once they just go out there and demonstrate to themselves, oh, this is the case, then I had someone in my DMs this past week that said, hey, Matt, I listed this stuff and it didn't sell on eBay. And I'm like, oh, gasp, gadzooks, it
It
didn't sell on eBay.
it's been 2 years listed. It's been how long has it been?
It,
Exactly.
it had been
It
three
didn't
days.
sell
I think it had been three whole
yet.
days.
Wow.
Oh man.
3 days.
I
How
was,
impatient are you? You
I
knew
was,
you were gonna fail. You were just waiting for it.
I was gutted. I got really worked up about that, guys. And yeah, no, I'm kidding. Um,
That's so funny. That's
yeah.
so funny. I
So,
would counter your point with something slightly different. I think that the material evolves and say that like yes, people need stuff, but they need different stuff. And it's got to keep being different because you never stop growing. You're greener growing or you're ripe and rotting. So the
hmm,
process is ongoing, but people need new stuff, different stuff as they evolve.
Yeah. No, yeah. Like I definitely believe in the like level 0, level 1, level 2, level 3 type of like mentality of that.
yeah, yeah.
Because as you go up in the business, you like there's certain other things you have to learn. But a lot of it is funny enough, it always goes back to the basics as well. Like um everything roots from like number one, starting conversations. Like that's like the basic of everything. Is like if you can talk to people,
Right.
you will make money. Like
Straight
that's
up,
the game.
straight up.
I remember whenever
Right.
I
If you
took a
can communicate your needs to them, if you actually tell them what you want and you don't pussyfoot it around it,
Yeah.
sure.
yeah, I remember I was being mentored in a group one time by Billy Jean. He's a fantastic marketer.
Yeah.
He said,
Was that your lover?
Stop.
You're
He's a
telling me
well,
Billie Jean is not your lover?
nope,
no, he's a
Is
well-known
it just a
marketer.
girl?
yeah, he's a well-known
Oh,
marketer, very well known. And he said something that, kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things. And he said, how many offers you make per day is directly proportional to how much money you're going to make. And it's true.
mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
so for
I
everybody
agree.
that's listening, that's the kind of the basic of this business. Like I'm literally getting a Google lead right now. Should I answer this?
Totally.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. So, I always say to
Well,
other phone businesses who sell phones
Hung up.
hold up.
that
I
It's
think he's
all
taking
good.
the
They
call.
hung up. I don't know what
Oh,
happened.
bummer. Okay. Sorry, Aaron, you were saying.
oh, we were gonna multitask it. It was fine. But I was gonna say advertisement is the number one determinant of success. When I was talking to people about selling phones in town, which is
Uh,
something that we don't really focus on in this that much. That's one of the things that I do that a lot of people don't really do.
what?
Sell phones in town.
Oh, yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, I don't really focus on a lot of that. Because I think that like as you grow, yes, but I'm a big proponent of focusing on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
This is like when it goes to like whenever people are reaching out to me and asking if they should repair phones and flip phones at the same time, I usually
Hmm.
tell them no because if you chase two rabbits, you'll catch none, basically.
Fair. It's
Now,
good.
if you build up the buyback side, then it does make sense to invest in learning how to do repairs once you're making some money and once you got a system down, right? Now, I don't know how
Yeah.
you did that because you run a cell phone store. Do you guys do repairs? I'm not totally sure on that.
I outsource them, but we offer them, but I outsource them with another repair shop that I just networked with.
Mhm.
So nobody at my shop actually knows how to fix stuff, but we fix stuff all the time.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great because so the main thing that I worked out, there's a place near me. They do $15 wholesale repairs.
Oh,
So as long as I bring them the part, they will do any repair pretty much for 15 bucks. So
That's
I
nice.
just stock parts at their store. I pay for parts at their store. They have my credit card on file when they order parts, and they order parts to stock my parts for
Uh-huh.
me. And then when stuff comes in, my employee will drop off a pile of phones, and then they'll call me with a pile of phones, and I pay them, and then boom, we put them in inventory and sell them.
Oh, that's cool.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
so like for everybody listening, that's something you can do if you're worried about, leaving money on the table with repairs. But I'm a big proponent of, especially with like whenever a new person joins Recelerator, uh, I always get that question. It's like, should I start doing repairs with the items that I'm buying, especially the cracked items? And I always tell them no, in the beginning anyway, simply because like there's a lot more to repairs than there is to flipping
Mhm.
devices. Um,
You know what? I would say that it's really about building relationships. You really don't want to focus on honing your skills technically to try to fix things. You're far, far better served by using that to network. Because if you already meet someone and they spent 10 years fixing phones, they went to phone college, let me tell you.
Wow.
And you just talk to them and they're like, if they like you, you get them to like you. You're just friendly and honest
Yeah.
and say good morning, good afternoon, care about them a little bit,
Yeah.
care that you're, doing a business thing. They will open all their doors for you. They
Yeah.
will say, come walk in the back of my shop anytime, hang out with us. You're our friend. We do this for you.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it is. And
Yeah.
when you're invited in the back, that's like, you got it.
yeah,
Yeah.
You got it. Oh, you just walk past the employee only sign. You're good. You're good.
Yeah.
I like that. And it brings up a good point too. Like you should be networking instead. Focus on one skill, network all the others, right? Because and
Yeah.
I see this a lot with repair shops. I had a call with a repair shop guy last night, um, and he was asking about our program and everything. And he was like, "Do you guys teach repairs? Do you teach how to get access to the cellular companies where you can sell stuff out of your whatever?" And I was like, "No, dude. Like we just do like we just teach buybacks. That is it. Like." And I always like to go back
Mhm.
to this phrase that I use with repair shops. I'm like, it's a lot easier to sell people money than it is to take it from them, right? Because what are you doing with repairs? You're taking money from them for repairs. But like with the buybacks, you're just giving people cash. And it's
Straight
so
up.
much easier to do that.
Yeah.
Um, and that's why I tell a lot of repair shops like do buybacks because it'll number one, it'll add more foot traffic to your store. And people are going to ask about
Right.
repairs anyway. That's just a natural
Right.
thing.
Yeah. That's great.
The buyback model involved in selling is absolutely essential. If you're going to sell phones, you're doing it to buy phones. You're doing it to keep your
Yes.
inventory level. Because if you sell a $400 phone that you bought for $300 and you're the person who sells $400 phones, that's you. You got to go buy another one for $300.
Yeah.
You got to go do it right now. So instead, if you take in a phone that you give them $200 trade credit and then they pay you $200, you're going to sell that phone. And now you didn't lose an inventory and you made profit on both.
Yeah.
Trade-ins are the way to double dip on every single deal. And I try to do that as much as possible.
That's great. That's a
Mhm.
really good soundbite right there.
I believe you
Um,
also have a process in your trade-in where like you market a lot of phones to sell from your store, and then you also use that to buy back a lot of devices as well. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So what we'll do is we'll post up our stuff and then we'll write in the post, we do trade-ins.
Yeah.
And then people will call us and say, hey, you guys buy phones, you take trade-ins. And then I always answer the same way. I got this from Chris. I stick to the four things. Yes, we purchase phones, tablets, video games, digital cameras. Or usually I say, we are always looking for
Yeah.
these four things. That's how I answer them. A lot of times, answering someone directly is the wrong answer. Do you know
I
what I mean by
agree.
that?
Yes.
Yes. No.
Well,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. Because if you just let yourself be led around the nose by your customers and you just answer all their questions, at the end, they're going to say, okay, thanks. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just spent like 30 minutes of time answering a bunch of BS for them to. You have to keep control of your customer by making sure you're the one asking the questions and leading the tone, that you set the frame, that you create the scene.
Yeah.
So if I can talk about pawn shops, because I know you guys wanted to talk about that, and
Yeah, of
I have
course.
a vein on that right now.
Go for it.
Okay, so I lost my dog. So
He
pawn
gone,
shops.
bro.
I remember when I was first going to my first pawn shop, I was driving by and I just noticed it because I was in the right mindset. Isn't that crazy? It's so crazy. I was like, I'm looking for pawn shops. And I had driven by it 200 times.
It's a lot.
So, yeah. And I bet there's people sleeping on pawn shops all day. I bet you drive one, buy one all the time. You just
Yeah.
haven't gone in.
Yeah.
Straight up.
So, anyway, pawn, and I'm like, I just look at them briefly and I start checking out the stuff. I was real low pressure. I understand that at pawn shops, they get a lot of shady people.
Yeah.
And one of the first things they want to do is they want to scope you out. Okay. So
Right.
Yeah.
I just like looked around and just was a normal person so that they could see that I was not dangerous, basically. And then I introduced myself. Hi, I'm Aaron. I own Cell Cycle in Modesto. We've been doing this for 14 years. I'm looking for phones, tablets, laptops, cameras.
Uh-huh.
And then I say, so you introduce yourself and then my purpose for today. Reason I stopped by, I noticed you had some cameras. I might be interested in those. If you give me a good deal, I'll buy a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
There you go.
And that's the main message. If you can give me a good deal, I'll buy a lot of stuff. But what are they there for?
Yeah.
Sell stuff and buy stuff.
Sell stuff, buy stuff. That's what they're there for. So if you're get out of your head and stop thinking about what could go wrong, and instead think of, you have to replace any idea, right? You can't just stop thinking. You have to replace it. So you replace it with, actually, what would they want? Or how can I provide value to them?
Yeah.
And if you can provide value to them genuinely, then you can make good business. And if you can convince them of that value, that's it. Hey, I can buy a lot of your stuff.
Yeah.
That's all I say. I can buy a lot of stuff. And so I just pitched that to the guy who looked friendly. Like, there was a girl with a sour face. I didn't talk to her. Okay.
Curmudgeon. Me. Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, I'm like, yeah, you get a high. That's it. And so someone eventually asks, if you look around long enough, someone asks, how can I help you? And then you got them. And then you do your whole thing. Wait till they have your full attention and vice versa.
Yeah.
And then everywhere I went was kind of like, sure, what do you want specifically? So I had to then point at the items. I've looked them up on eBay already. That's what I was doing in the first place.
Cool. Of course.
Yeah, I'm looking up comps on eBay as I'm searching the shop. And now I'm like, okay, I think I can. So I actually let them lead on pricing because I really want to feel it out. I'm hoping they'll tell me like half. Tell me half. I'll be like, all right, so what if I buy this, and this? What do you guys think the best you can do is?
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
what I was like, what's the best you can do? I'm going to buy a bunch of stuff. I want to create a relationship with you guys. I want to come back again and again. You'll see me again.
Yep.
That's good. They like, long term. If they see you again, you are now passive income. You have become passive income to them.
Yeah. That's a really fair point. And I think I'd like to point out to everybody that's listening that all of us are looking for the same thing within our career or business. We're looking for predictable success. If you can present that to other people in the form of dedicated consistency, right? When people see Aaron or Chris come in and they go, that guy right there, see that guy right there? That guy has cash in my pocket. That's money in the bank, right? There's a dopamine rush that might begin to associate with your presence. I mean, quite literally, that gives people the good feels. And you know what? You want that. Like it's good relationships, it's good business, and hey, if we both walk away feeling that win-win, like that's fantastic. And I think a lot of people just don't realize based on the way that you are talking about facilitating this handshake almost in a literal sense, like how simple this can really be and how great it can be for everybody involved. I like that. It feels awesome, it feels safe, and it feels remarkably easy. Well, why shouldn't it be? If you're not just stupid, right? Listen to what Aaron's saying and like take this to the bank, literally.
I've been screaming
Yeah,
about
go
pawn
ahead.
shops for the past 2.5 years. Like in the Slack group, I'm like pawn shops, pawn shops, pawn shops. And then Aaron comes in and he's like filling up his trunk with sales from pawn shops, and I'm like, just listen to him. Just listen to Aaron. Just like talk to him.
Right.
I have
Perk
a
your
whole
ears off.
course on pawn shops, but
I think it's the hardest part is always the first part.
it is, yeah.
You know,
I
it's
mean, I really
starting.
I was terrified about it the first time I went in.
Yeah.
I was walking around trying to figure out if I could find something to flip, and I didn't think they were going to go down on their prices, and this, that, and everything else. And then one day I don't know, I remember the day that I got confidence, and I was like, I'm just going to go in there, and I'm just going to be like honest about what I do. I remember it was in Beaumont, Texas. It was an Easy Pawn. I went in and I was
It was
like,
called Easy Pawn.
it was Easy Pawn, yeah.
Nice.
It's a
Easy.
chain of stores across the nation. But I went in one day and I was like, "Look, my name is Chris. I run Bell Electronics here in Beaumont. I like to buy used and damaged phones, MacBooks, iPads, smartwatches, cameras. What do you guys got? Maybe we can do some business together." And dude, they started bringing MacBooks from the back that were locked and broken and all sorts of stuff. And they were like, "Will you
Oh,
buy
dude.
these?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course
Oh
I
my
will."
God.
Like I bought like
I
one of those MacBooks I still
love
have.
that.
I actually
I
still have.
love that.
But
I
like
have
it was
okay, go. You go. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to point out like I don't know what it was, but I just had a lot of confidence that day. And I think it was because I had bought like 3 or 4 phones like at the Starbucks, and the Starbucks was literally right across the street from the freaking pawn shop.
That's sick.
I
Yeah.
Wow.
was like
Wow.
and I had already made like 300 or something dollars, so I was just like, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna go in and see what can happen, and that's kind of what like led me down that path of like just walk in, be honest, and like tell them what you do. And then that led me down the path of like, you know, I'm an ATM to a lot of people. Let's be
Of
real.
course.
Like
Yeah, of course.
I am a source of cash for some people. Use me to get what they need, right?
Yeah,
And that is
yeah.
fine
Yeah.
with me. I'm okay with that.
You're the plug.
You're the reason their water didn't get shut off.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, like this lady this morning, she hit me up. She was a repeat customer. She's like, "Hey, my husband is looking to sell his iPhone 13. Can you give me the same deal?" And dude, she thought I was a total
Dandelion, come
scammer.
on.
Like
Dandelion, come on.
she thought I was a total scammer in the very beginning because she was an older lady, you know, and now she looks at me like I'm, an ATM, and I'm fine with that. So
That's so cool.
Right. And once you have someone's trust, once you really have it, you really have it.
yeah,
Yeah,
Like they stop asking you all these stupid questions.
yeah.
yeah,
You know, like you can tell when someone doesn't trust you when they start to ask things like that question your integrity
Uh-huh.
or your method of payment and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And I always think that's the time when you need to kind of show like, hey, I have some authenticity, I have some congruency, you know, this is how long I've been doing this and this is what we do, and there's no pressure, you know, kind of you do the takeaway and at the same time you validate yourself, if
yeah.
that makes sense.
Hmm.
I think the takeaway is really important. These new guys, a lot of new guys don't understand that when you act like you need the phone, they
yeah,
are repelled by that entire vibe.
yeah. No, that's a
Like you're
real
like, oh, I would want it. I need it. I want it. And you're like, what? You're weird. Go away.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even want to sell it to you anymore. You want it too much.
Well, also it I think it spills out to say, hey, like who really has the control here? Um,
Yeah.
and if you surrender that power to the other person in negotiation, I mean, they can smell it. You can pick it up so fast and so easy. And
Hmm.
I think you have to be aware, like that's why I think, we spend a good amount of time on this podcast talking about uh, scarcity mentality and abundance mentality and how that desperation and that need it's not a good look. It's never a good look. Um,
Right. Yeah, the needy girlfriend it's a bad thing. You don't say, "Oh, I have such a needy girlfriend. It's the best."
right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true. I talk about that a lot. Like I had a customer a couple about 2.5 weeks ago now, actually. This guy hit me up and he was like, "Hey, dude, I got two iPhone 15 Pro Maxes or whatever," and I was like, "Cool, I can buy them for like 500 each." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I got a guy who will pay 700 each," and I'm like, "Dude, that's amazing. Like, sell them to
Go
him.
for it.
Like, that's amazing. Like, take the offer. What are you waiting for?" And
Yeah.
then he called me 10 minutes later and he was like, "Hey, dude, I just wanted to like give you a chance to up your offer." And I was like, "Nah, my offer is still 500 each, bro. Like, I'm not budging. Like, you said you had a guy for 700 each, and like, why don't you sell to him?"
Yeah.
Um, and funny enough, about a week ago, he ended up selling me both phones.
Yeah.
Ah, he just
Well,
needed to wait long enough to let the lie die down.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Um, and that happens, right? But like I was not needy. I did not try to negotiate up. I didn't do anything because I get enough opportunities already, um, where I can just buy stuff daily without heck, I buy stuff on days I don't want to buy stuff because you know it's one of those things, like you're doing stuff that day,
Yeah.
and it's like everybody. It's funny because those are the days where everybody hits you up is like when you're out of town, and they're like, "Well, I'm gonna wait till you get back," and then it's like four people all at once. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That feels good though. The line when you're like, I'm tired, but hey, look at that money.
Yeah, I love the lineups at Starbucks. They're great.
The line. The line gives you so much social proof. I
Yes.
plan on it. I plan on it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
A
hear
lot of
people who are afraid of the line. I was like, you're stupid. Don't be afraid of the line. It's a sales tool, guys.
really is. For everybody listening, I call it like I meet everybody at Starbucks, so I call it a lineup. I tell people I meet at 12 and 5, and usually I have like 2 to 3 people at each meetup normally.
Yeah.
And I tell them all to come at the same time because I want them to be
Yes.
there at the same time. And
Yeah.
like if
Yes.
one of them walks in when I'm already with a customer, I'll be like, "Hey, I'll be with you here in a minute. I just got to finish up with this phone." It makes you look so good. It's ridiculous.
It's very
A lot of people
professional.
are
And-
like, "I can meet you at
mhm.
12, 12:15, 12:30." Like, no, do it all at 12. Like,
Yeah.
because it gives you
Yeah.
so much
All at
social
12.
proof. It's stupid. Because,
Yeah.
and
And actually, I would say to change it to a dumb time, like 12:07 or 12:03. And you could be like, I have my next time slot at 12:03. And then they're much more likely to be there on time because they'll question the specificity of the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
They'll get in their head about it like, that was weird. Why do you say 12:03? And
12:03.
then they remember it.
Well, I think also mentally it says if the time is that specific, he must schedule things. I need to be on time because I don't want to miss this moment.
I
Um,
like that. I'm
Hmm.
gonna try that.
yeah, I think it's a very clever tip. I'd also like to say to anybody that's watching this or listening, and you're concerned that people are going to have to wait, there are a lot worse things than people having to wait in line for you to give them money. Um,
Have
so
you ever gone to Walmart cash services? There's 12 people right now.
it's
Right
true.
now.
Yeah, money order, MoneyGram. Um, Hilarious. So, hey, Aaron, I would really love if you would take a moment to talk to the listeners and viewers of these conversations about perhaps what have been some helpful ways to kind of sort of cull the squirrel brain that I think sometimes people are challenged with when it comes to like focus and tasking things,
Mm,
prioritizing.
that's a great question. I mean, I have ADHD and I've had it all my life. And so everything I do, I have systems. I have the blessing of not remembering things very well. That's pretty nice. So I forget to be afraid. That's useful.
Yeah.
Good way to-
Just you should remind yourself that fear is only necessary in true danger situations. When you're sitting there, so first of all, drive over to the pawn shop at least. At least go drive to the parking lot. Go sit there in the parking lot, right? Like right now.
Yeah.
And if you're having trouble walking up and opening the door and wondering what you're going to do, it's like a speech. Remember, if you practice a speech, you're going to be golden. But if you don't, you can be jittery. So go over it in your head. Talk to yourself in the car for a few minutes if you have the jitters. Be
Yeah.
like, hey, so what am I going to tell them? What do I do? So you really need you have three things. Who are you? Okay, I know my name and generally kind of who I am. Okay, what do you do? Okay, I buy, sell electronics. What are you here for today? That's what they want to know. Those three things. Who are you? What do you do? What are you here for today?
Yeah.
So you give them those three things,
Yeah.
and you will unlock the keys to the castle. That's
Yeah.
what's so great about Chris's story. He just said the magic words. He said, motherfucking open sesame, and they unlocked all the keys.
Yeah.
I give this analogy to my workers all the time. I say every person is a combination. Every person is a lock. I mean, and you just have to learn the right combination for every person.
It's
And
true.
if you do, they
Yeah.
will open for you. They will. If you haven't figured it out, it's because you just don't know their combination.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I know the pawn shop combination. I know it. It's really easy. All you need to do is show up boring, be boring when you show up, like just go walk around and actually look at stuff and actually appraise stuff. Look out for yourself.
Yeah.
How can I make money here? If you see anything that you can sell for higher than the listed price, that's rare. That's very rare. Buy that.
Yeah.
That's very rare. But you should immediately go in and start looking at the cameras, video games, tablets, smartphones if they have them,
Yeah.
and just start doing comps. And once you have a fair list of things, you start hitting them with offers. You should be mentally noting this or writing it down if you need to. I can usually mentally note it. I'm like, okay, I've got this iPad. They want 300. I can sell it for 350. Wow, I'll offer 200. Super score. I had one of those. That was great.
That's awesome.
But
One thing I like
it's about
pawn shops-
yeah. Go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
I wanted to point out one thing I love about pawn shops is it can open the gateway to buying a lot more than an iPhone, right? Because you can go in there and you can find interesting things that you never would have thought would have sold, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I've
Right.
bought many like pieces of construction technology equipment, like
That's
like-
random.
electronic like levelers and things like that.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I bought what was it? It was some sort of like sanding hose thing one time. I bought it for $5 and it sold for $149.
Incredible.
It was stupid. And
Yeah.
it was on like the discount table that they had. And I was like, what? I don't even know what this is. Like,
Mhm.
so it gives you an option to like go in and actually like test out different markets.
Yeah.
Like I know Hunter Hickerson, which is one of my past students, he started buying tools
Yeah.
like in bulk after a while, like
Hmm.
once he like dropped into pawn shops and found out that tools can be very profitable.
Totally. Yeah.
So like you can go in and you can just like you can use the eBay image filter, or you can just look stuff up. And that's one thing I love about pawn shops is it can open the gateway for you to buying so many different types of electronics. And
Totally.
then when you're out getting leads, some of these items you'll recognize when people are messaging you. And you'll be like, I bought that before. And then bam.
Okay, I have something to piggyback on this. It's
for
so you're going to notice if you're new or if you're doing this for a long time that as you do things, you're going to learn new skills all the time.
Yeah.
You just do. You can't help but learn. So if you think to yourself, well, how can I sell cameras? I don't know anything about cameras. I said the same thing last week. I don't know anything about cameras. I still don't feel like I know anything about cameras. You
Yeah,
don't have to know anything about cameras. All you have to do is have working internet and an eBay app and just go in there and check what it's going to sell for,
very
you know?
simple.
And if you see it consistently sell for, look at the dates it sold. If it sold last in May, don't buy it. Look at the dates that it sold. If you see it sell, two of them sold today, ooh,
Yeah,
that's hot. That's a hot item. You
yeah,
know, if you see even one sold today, one sold yesterday, that's still pretty good. That means you might sell it today.
for sure.
Love
You
it.
know, so instead of thinking about all the things that could go wrong, think of all the wonderful ways that you can provide value and all the things that you can do while you're in there, and you'll have the right mindset instead of the wrong mindset.
Really good.
True. I mean, guys, you just got to go out there and like do it. Like that's the thing. Like you can't gain the knowledge unless you like. I mean, you can, but like having some exposure to actually doing it makes a big difference. Um, I want to tap on one last thing here before we kind of wrap up. Whenever you joined Recelerator months back, I remember you, and correct me if I'm wrong, you weren't utilizing eBay as much as you could have been. And then you went freaking crazy with it. um, I think you said your
Yeah.
ADHD kind of kicked in and you just went like crazy on eBay. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So you taught me some important things. I thought I was a veteran, but the man who knows everything can learn nothing, right? So I was like, well, there's got to be something I can learn from him. So you re-taught me about eBay. You're like, just sell everything on eBay. Just put it up there. And if it's not working, like lower the price. And you gave me all these great tips. And the
So
information
simple.
inspired me. Yeah, simple stuff, but I didn't think about it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and so I just started listing like crazy and I ramped up eBay volume. I started buying from people who were selling pallets. I was buying shampoo and deodorant and razors. Some of that stuff was good, some of it was not. I don't recommend buying shampoo and deodorant and razors. But some of that stuff was really good. There was like battery packs and tire pressure sensors and TI-89 calculators. Man, all that stuff was great. Like if
I'll
I can
sell
make a
those.
profit, yeah. I sold a TI-80. I got a TI-89 calculator at a pawn shop for $50, and the same day we sold it for $94.
Let's go.
Free money, baby.
Yeah, it was just so easy. So basically, the way I think about eBay is it's like it's a platform where you can put up an unlimited amount of stuff, and the sales are only limited by what you can do. So it's really like sky's the limit on eBay. So,
Yeah,
just if whatever you can buy, just buy as much as you can at the best deal you can and put it up for sale and leave the rest up up in the air. You don't
yeah,
have to worry about if it sells or not. That's not your job anymore.
right.
Aaron, but what about the
You just
fees,
have to
bro?
keep getting more
Like
stuff.
what about them eBay fees that everybody talks about, you
Oh
know?
gosh.
Okay, so if you just buy every objection that you ever thought, all you do is sit there on the couch. I mean, would you rather make $100 and pay someone $30 and make $70, or make $0? Like, come on,
That's
just
pretty
calculate your. Yeah,
that's pretty
go ahead.
easy math right there if I don't even really have to think about it. But I do think that, what's interesting is man, I hope anybody who's listening to this is not the type of person that consumes a lot of content and does nothing with it. Like if you guys are listening to this and
Mm.
you've listened to like five of these podcasts and you're still not selling on eBay and you're still wishing or a entrepreneur, as some people call it, like stop.
A
Literally,
entrepreneur.
literally pause this and like go list your first item on eBay. In fact, don't even come back and listen to any of this content until you've listed about five things on eBay and made some money, and you'll feel so much better about your next course of action in life. Seriously. And that's all for free from Chris, Aaron, and myself. Um, but I think also like a lot of people hear this and see like that there's a difference between the type of person that Chris is, the type of person I am, and the type of person that Aaron is. And I just say like there's space within this business to allow for a lot of different types of personalities. Like don't pigeonhole yourself into like paint yourself into a corner that an entrepreneur or a reseller
Yes.
looks like some kind of like XYZ type of person. Like there's all types and we all have a preference in what we like to flip. Chris will tell you. Chris, you should tell everybody like what like you have your like Fab Four. Like he has four specific things that he really likes to flip. What are they?
They are phones, MacBooks, iPads, and VR headsets and consoles, and like that's five. But those are my like, and like it's more of the higher end too of those most of the time. Like with phones, I'll do iPhone X and newer, right? Um, with Samsungs, I love Samsungs, especially the newer Samsungs. Those are some of my favorite items to flip. I make so much money off of Samsung, that's stupid. And the reason being is because most of the guys around here don't buy anything outside of an iPhone. It's great. It's great business for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then I mean the MacBooks and the iPads. I make a lot of money off of iPads. I
Yeah.
don't know why. I don't like. There's a lot of iPads around here, I guess.
Yeah.
But honestly, there's just gigantic iPhone. Um, and then
They
obviously,
sell well on eBay when they're not refurbished.
yeah, exactly. Especially
They
when they're
do.
broken. I love selling them broken. My
Yeah.
favorite.
Mm,
They're my
mm.
favorite thing to buy when they're broken. And then obviously like the VR headsets. I've really been honing in on the Quest 3 lately. Because I've kind of backed off on the Quest 2 because it's not selling as well as it was. But the
Mm.
Quest 3 for me is like gold, and
Yeah.
there's usually one or two that pop up on Marketplace per day.
Yeah.
And I just gotta wait for people, to
Uh,
realize they're not gonna get what they paid. And that's fine with me. I'm good at following up, right?
yep.
Um, and that's
A
that's
lot of people don't do that. That's important.
it's really important.
Huge.
I
Yeah.
mean, Aaron, I'll let you talk about the importance of follow up because I preach it literally every time I do a call. Like I'm a broken record about follow ups. And
Yeah.
Matt, you know this.
Of course. Yeah.
So if you want to make it like a process, you can either be on your stuff and you can do follow-ups every day and go back like 4 or 5 days, something like that. Um, or if you are like, oh, I'm so behind, what can I do?
Yeah.
Just treat follow-ups like reach outs and go back on your messages and anybody from today all the way up to the beginning of November, to the beginning of November, message them. And
Yeah.
if you do a shotgun message, you can do something simple like, I have a good one. Give me a second. Hey, we were talking about a device recently, and it's usually me selling them something. So I say, did you get that handled? If not, we still have it. Or if you're looking to buy, if not, I would still be interested. And you just kind of drop them a friendly line, real low pressure, and show them that you're there and that you're still interested and that you're a serious buyer.
Yep. No, I mean that's so one thing I like to do. And honestly, following up in any way in this business is easy. Like
Yeah.
because you're giving people cash, right? It's not like you're taking money from them. But one thing I'll do a lot is like if it's something that I want, and this like is more for like Valve Index and Quest 3, is I'll just go back to the listing and I'll be like, hey, and I'll message them and be like, hey, I saw this was still up. Are you still trying to sell it? The keyword there is trying.
Ah,
You know?
yeah,
And
I love that.
it works well.
It's really factual. It's not very emotional. Are
Yeah.
you trying to sell it? Yeah, I guess. Still.
Yeah. My
You
follow-up,
when you ask that question, that's great. Go ahead.
well, my follow-up is very simple. I just follow up with people and say, hey, just wanted to check in and see if this item is still actually for sale.
Yeah.
Uh, and this guy hit me back the other day. It was like, oh, yeah, it is. Someone was gonna, well, he said he had not responded to my first three or four messages. And so then I hit him back with three question marks and I said, hey, tagged his name, right? And just said, wanted to see if this item is still actually for sale. And
Oh,
he finally hit me up and he goes, oh, yeah.
okay.
He goes, I had someone who's supposed to buy this and pay for shipping. Um, and I'll let you know. So then I follow up with him again that evening, and we actually got into a conversation. And I didn't close the deal, but the cool thing is now we started talking about it. So in a few days, I can follow up with him again later and actually buy the item.
Yeah.
Follow-ups are important.
Can you guys still see me?
No.
No, you're gone.
Okay. It's because my phone went to 5% battery and then
Okay.
turned off the camera.
So
Oh, no.
we gotta wrap up anyway. But yeah, because we're over the top of the hour big time here. So
Yeah.
this has been a good one.
Okay.
Great. It's been
Aaron,
great.
before your phone dies, dude, um,
Yeah.
like a lot of people that listen to this podcast are people that are driving around, picking up phones, like they listen to this in their car a lot. What would be the biggest piece of advice that you would tell them to do today to help grow their business today?
Well, it's remember if you have money and it's not invested, that money is dead money. It's not doing anything. It's not advancing your life. That money is powerful and it can advance your life. All you have to do is put it towards a purpose. So today, get on your phone, find some good deals and get one. Just get one.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. You know, if you're afraid of going to a pawn shop, go to a pawn shop. If you suck at doing reach outs, do some reach outs. Do something you're afraid of, and you'll feel better at the end.
Yeah.
Love that. Well, Aaron, it's been awesome having you on, dude. We'll have to do this again because you got a lot of like really good mindset stuff, and I love it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Guys, this has been another episode of the Smart Flip. If you guys are tuning in while you're driving around in your car, make sure that you check out our free Facebook group. You can find a couple of links as well in the description. Make sure to get the guide to flipping phones or electronics for 2025. You can find that in our Facebook group. And then if you want to, you can check out the ebook, the PDF version. You can get it for $4.95, or you can just go to episode 11 of the podcast and listen to it for free. It's about 2 hours long. It'll get you basically started in this business pretty quickly. I don't really hold back on much in the basics of things. And with that being said, Aaron, appreciate you coming on, dude. This has been great.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. This was pretty cool. It was like a thoughtful conversation.
Okay. That's what we like to do. All right, guys,
Absolutely.
we're going to wrap this thing up and see you guys next week on the next podcast.
Merry Christmas,
Cool.
everyone.
Merry